December 23rd, 2025, 5:47 in the morning. A Boeing 787 painted in lavender taxis onto a runway in North Charleston, South Carolina. It lifts off into the dark, climbs to 16,000 feet, circles the South Carolina coast for 2 hours, and lands. Nobody on board except the test pilots. No passengers will ever fly on it. That airplane has been sitting in a hangar for the 5 months since, and the airline that paid $300 million for it has not been allowed to touch it. Welcome to the strangest grounding in modern aviation history. The airline is Riyadh Air, the owner is Saudi Arabia, and the only reason that plane cannot leave Charleston right now has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia, nothing to do with Boeing, and nothing to do with any politician in Washington. The United States government will not let it leave the building. Saudi Arabia's $20 billion flag carrier has been stopped by America. The question is, which America did it? Tail number HZ-AR1. 6 more 787s sit next to it in various stages of completion. Not one has been delivered. None of them have a delivery date. The airline got its operating certificate from Saudi authorities over a year ago, hired 60 pilots and crew, leased a beat-up ex-Oman Air 787 just to fly a daily empty flight to London, and the planes it actually paid for remain stuck on American soil. The White House didn't do this. There's no sanctions package, no executive order, no piece of legislation anyone in Washington has actually passed against this airline. Congress isn't even paying attention. What has killed Riyadh Air's launch, 3 launch dates dead, a 4th in serious doubt, is 1 Boeing factory in North Charleston and 1 federal agency in Washington. And the story of how Saudi Arabia walked into this is the kind of story that's going to keep repeating itself in different countries with different industries for the next 20 years. March 2023. Mohammed bin Salman walks onto a stage in Riyadh and announces a brand new national airline, wholly owned by the Public Investment Fund. The pitch is enormous. 100 destinations by 2030. The airline anchors a $30 billion mega airport called King Salman International. 6 runways, 7 terminals, 120 million passengers a year. It generates $20 billion in non-oil GDP, 200,000 jobs. It locks in the 2030 World Expo. It anchors the bid for the 2034 World Cup. That's the headline version. Now hold on, because that $20 billion number doesn't mean what most headlines say it means. Saudi Arabia hasn't actually spent $20 billion on this airline. According to Riyadh Air's own filing with the US Department of Transportation in May 2026, the Public Investment Fund has injected about $3 billion so far. The $20 billion is what the airline is projected to contribute to Saudi GDP by the year 2030. It's a forecast, not an investment. Which means when a headline says America stopped a $20 billion airline, what's actually been stopped is the entire engine downstream. The tourism, the cargo, the expo, the World Cup logistics. The chain is way longer than it looks. The damage is way bigger than it looks. So who is actually running this thing? Tony Douglas, former Etihad chief, hired specifically to do what almost nobody has done in living memory, launch a Gulf mega carrier from absolute zero. He signed up 124 firm aircraft, plus 58 options, 39 787-9s from Boeing, 60 Airbus A321neos, 25 Airbus A350-1000s. He hired a CFO out of Etihad and a chief commercial officer out of Air France. He got his air operator certificate on April 6, 2025. He leased that old Oman Air 787, his team nicknamed it Jamila, Arabic for beautiful, and started flying it daily to London Heathrow on October 26, 2025, just to keep his slot pair at Heathrow from getting clawed back by another airline. And as of May 2026, that is still the entire airline. 1 leased plane, 1 route, no public ticket sales. An Atlanta launch with Delta penciled in for October 23, 2026, that the airline physically cannot operate because no new aircraft have been delivered. About Delta, you need to understand how strange that Atlanta deal actually is. For 10 years, from roughly 2015 to 2024, Delta was the loudest voice in the world arguing that Gulf carriers were cheating. They funded a lobbying coalition called the Partnership for Open and Fair Skies. They went to Congress. They went to the White House. They argued that Emirates and Etihad and Qatar Airways were getting illegal subsidies from their governments and using that money to dump cheap fares into American airspace. Delta's CEO personally went on television and called for restrictions. And then, in July of 2024, Delta signed a partnership memorandum with Riyadh Air, an airline that, by Delta's own historical standard, is the most government-subsidized Gulf carrier ever attempted, owned outright by a sovereign wealth fund, with $3 billion already injected before it had flown a single paying customer. Ed Bastian, the same CEO who spent a decade attacking this exact business model, called Riyadh Air's product elevated and world-class. Either Delta changed its mind about subsidies, or Delta noticed that the subsidies were now going to be paying Delta. And the silence from American Airlines, from United, from the pilots union, every single party that used to fight these deals tells you the answer. The American opposition that would have killed Riyadh Air 10 years ago doesn't exist anymore, which is what makes the fact that the airline is still grounded so much stranger. The politicians stepped aside, the competitors stepped aside, and the planes still aren't coming. So what is actually broken? The answer is one piece of regulatory jargon nobody outside aviation has ever heard of. Picture a Boeing 787 rolling off the line in Charleston. It's a $300 million aircraft. Before Boeing can hand it to a customer, somebody has to certify that it's safe. For decades, that somebody was Boeing itself, with the FAA looking over its shoulder. Then, in January 2024, a door plug blew off an Alaska Airlines 737 in mid-air at 16,000 feet. The FAA pulled Boeing's self-certification privileges. Every aircraft now has to be signed off by the federal government, line by line. And the very first plane built to any new cabin specification, different seats, different lighting, different doors, is called the head-of version. The entire fleet that follows gets stuck behind it until the FAA blesses it. Riyadh Air didn't spec a normal cabin. They spec'd one of the most elaborate premium products ever attempted on a 787. Sliding privacy doors on every business class suite, custom mood lighting throughout the cabin, a bespoke first-class product engineered to out-luxury Emirates. Every one of those custom systems has to be individually certified by an agency that used to wave this stuff through and now refuses to. The head of version sits in Charleston, the other 6 sit behind it. Nobody moves until that first plane gets a stamp. The 787 sitting in Charleston isn't being held back because anyone in Washington has a grudge against Saudi Arabia. It's being held back because Boeing's certification machine broke, and the United States government is rebuilding it in real time on top of Riyadh Air's airplane. The 787 sitting in Charleston, South Carolina, has done more damage to Saudi aviation in the last 12 months than every politician in Washington combined. Tony Douglas knows this. He said it out loud in front of a live microphone. November 2025, Dubai Air Show, he tells The National. Direct quote, "It's not in my hands. It's not even in the hands of Boeing. You've got the most complex industries I've ever been around. That is one of the world's most heavily regulated industries." That is the CEO of the national flag carrier of one of the richest sovereign wealth funds on earth, on stage, on camera, saying he has no idea when his planes will arrive. The guy hired to launch this airline cannot tell you when this airline launches. Picture that for a second. You are Tony Douglas. You walked away from running Etihad to take this job. You spent 2 years hiring, building, designing, branding. You stood on stages in Riyadh and Paris and Dubai and told the world this was going to be the biggest airline launch since Emirates. You hired pilots whose paychecks you are now signing every 2 weeks while they sit at home because there is no airplane for them to fly. And the only thing you can tell them, and the only thing you can tell your crown prince, and the only thing you can tell the press is that the most powerful man in your story right now is an unnamed FAA engineer in an office in Washington you have never been inside. Boeing rescheduled Riyadh Air's deliveries 5 separate times in 2024 alone. 5. Bloomberg reported that of the 8 Dreamliners the carrier was supposed to receive in 2025, only 4 would actually arrive. By early 2026, exactly 0 have been formally handed over. And Riyadh Air is not even the worst case. Emirates is waiting on 777X deliveries that have officially slipped to 2027. Boeing took a $4.9 billion charge on that program in Q3 of 2025 alone. Qatar Airways has 130 future 787s on order, the largest wide-body deal in Boeing's history, announced during Trump's May 2025 Gulf tour. Every Gulf carrier, Riyadh, Emirates, Qatar, Etihad, is in the same queue, waiting on the same factory, dependent on the same regulator. Singapore Airlines pushed its Riyadh service from June to September of 2026. The whole region is in a holding pattern. What Saudi Arabia thought it was buying in March of 2023 was an airline. What it actually bought was a 40-year industrial dependency on a country whose flagship aerospace manufacturer was about to lose self-certification authority, take a $4.9 billion charge on one program, miss delivery targets on every widebody it makes, and become the subject of a federal criminal probe. The bet looked obvious in 2023. Boeing was Boeing. The 787 was the most successful clean-sheet widebody program of the century. Ordering from Charleston was the safe play. Trusting the FAA was the safe play. Assuming the planes would show up was, in 2023, the safest play on the board. And then there's a date in this story that almost nobody talks about. June 16th, 2025, Paris Air Show. Riyadh Air announces it is ordering up to 50 Airbus A350-1000s. Not Boeing, Airbus. None of them coming from Charleston, none of them subject to the FAA. The Saudi national carrier, pitched in 2023 as an all-Boeing fleet designed to deepen US-Saudi industrial ties, quietly moved the entire long-haul future of the airline to a French final assembly line. At that same press conference, Tony Douglas was asked why Riyadh Air was hedging away from Boeing. He didn't answer the question directly. He talked about supply chain resilience. He talked about engine performance in hot climates. He never said the word Boeing. And here is where this story gets bigger than one airline. Vision 2030 is Saudi Arabia's plan to stop being an oil economy by the end of this decade. NEOM, the Red Sea resorts, the World Cup, the Expo. Riyadh Air was pitched as one of the easier pieces of that puzzle. The hard part was supposed to be building a city in the desert. The easy part was supposed to be ordering airplanes. Saudi Arabia is now discovering that the easy part is broken, and the country that broke it didn't even mean to. The check got written, the planes did not show up. America did not need to pass a single law to stop Saudi Arabia's $20 billion airline. Boeing just had to keep tripping over its own feet. The most powerful coercive tool in the US-Saudi relationship right now is not sanctions or tariffs or arms deals, it is a federal certification queue. The leverage doesn't sit in the Oval Office or on Capitol Hill. It sits in a regulatory office at 800 Independence Avenue, and it works whether or not anyone in that office is even thinking about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia could write a check for another $20 billion tomorrow morning. Not one 787 would move out of Charleston one day faster. The check is not the problem. The check was never the problem. So look at where Riyadh Air actually stands right now. The dot permit they filed on May 5th, 2026 is pending, not denied. The 2013 US-Saudi Open Skies Agreement gives them a legal pathway. Delta is waiting in Atlanta. Washington is the friendliest it has been for any Gulf carrier in over a decade, and none of it matters if the planes don't fly. October 23rd is the next public stress test, 6 months from now. The head of version certification has been in process for over a year. The slot requests are filed for Madrid, Paris, Manchester, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Manila, Mumbai. 15 cities ready to receive an airline that does not yet have a fleet. Tony Douglas told the press he needs minimum 3 aircraft before he can sell a single ticket to the public. He has 0. There is a hangar in Charleston, South Carolina. Inside that hangar is a lavender 787 with the name of a Saudi airline painted on its tail. The plane has flown once. It has been sitting in the dark for 5 months. Outside that hangar is a parking lot. Inside that hangar is a $20 billion economy. And the only thing standing between them is a piece of paper somebody in Washington has not yet signed.